There are baseball players whose numbers tell only part of the story. Jerry Grote is one of them. If you judged him only by home runs or batting average, you'd miss what made him special. Ask the pitchers who threw to him. Ask the teammates who trusted him. Or ask Johnny Bench, who once said that if he and Grote had been on the same team, he'd have been playing third base. That is about as high a compliment as one catcher can give another. Jerry Grote was born in San Antonio, Texas, and grew up as an outstanding all-around athlete. He could pitch, catch, and play the infield, but it didn't take long for scouts to realize that catching was his future. After one season at Trinity University, he signed with the Houston Colt 45s and reached the major leagues as a 20-year-old. His first stop in the big leagues was brief, and Houston never fully committed to him. After spending some time in the minors, he was traded to the Mets before the 1966 season. At the time, the Mets were still trying to escape the losing culture that had defined the franchise since its birth in 1962. Jerry Grote would become one of the players who changed that culture. He wasn't a catcher who dazzled with the bat. What he brought was something managers and pitchers value even more. He understood hitters. He called a smart game. He blocked everything he could reach. He had a quick, accurate throwing arm, and he competed on every pitch. He also had a mischievous streak. After a Mets pitcher ended an inning with a strikeout, Grote had a habit of rolling the baseball towards the Mets dugout instead of leaving it near the mound. The opposing pitcher had to walk a few extra steps to retrieve it. It was a tiny psychological game, but it perfectly captured Jerry Grote's competitive nature. He looked for every edge. By 1968, baseball had taken notice. Grote earned his first All-Star selection and was voted the National League's starting catcher. His defense had become impossible to ignore, and he was beginning to establish himself as one of the finest receivers in the game. Then came 1969. The Miracle Mets are remembered for Tom Seaver, Jerry Koosman, Cleon Jones, Tommy Agee, Bud Harrelson, and manager Gil Hodges. But behind the plate was Jerry Grote, quietly guiding one of baseball's youngest and best pitching staffs. When the Mets made their unforgettable late-season charge past the Chicago Cubs, Grote was there for virtually every important inning. One day in September, he caught every inning of a doubleheader as New York surged into first place for the first time in franchise history. In the World Series, the heavily favored Baltimore Orioles expected to overpower the upstart Mets. Instead, the Mets won 4 straight after dropping the opener. Grote caught every inning of the postseason. In Game 2, he helped keep a ninth-inning rally alive that led to the winning run. In Game 4, he opened the 10th inning with a double that helped produce another crucial victory. More importantly, the pitching staff he guided held Baltimore's powerful lineup almost completely in check. That championship wasn't simply won on the mound. It was won by the partnership between the pitchers and the man calling the game behind the plate. Grote continued to be one of the National League's premier defensive catchers throughout the 1970s. Injuries interrupted several seasons, but every time he returned, the Mets seemed to get better. In 1973, after missing significant time, he came back in midsummer just as New York began an improbable climb from last place to another National League pennant. Years later, Grote would joke that everyone called 1969 a miracle, but that 1973, the You Gotta Believe Mets felt like the real miracle. His second All-Star selection came in 1974, and in 1975 he enjoyed one of his best offensive seasons of his career, while once again leading National League catchers defensively. Even then, offense was never what defined Jerry Grote. His reputation rested on earning the confidence of great pitchers, And what a list of pitchers it was. Tom Terrific, Tom Seaver, Jerry Koosman, Nolan Ryan, Tug McGraw, Tommy John, Don Sutton. Few catchers have been entrusted with so many remarkable arms. Those pitchers knew that when Jerry Grote put down a sign, there was a reason for it. Late in his career, Grote joined the Dodgers as a respected veteran backup and appeared in 2 more World Series. Most players would have quietly retired after that, but Jerry Grote had one more surprise left. In 1981, at 38 years of old, the Kansas City Royals convinced him to come out of retirement. In one unforgettable game, he went 3 for 4, hit a grand slam double, stole a base, and drove in 7 runs. It was a reminder that the old catcher could still make headlines when the opportunity presented itself. When his playing career finally came to an end, Jerry Grote had spent 16 seasons proving that greatness isn't always measured by towering home runs or gaudy statistics. Sometimes it's measured by the confidence of Hall of Fame pitchers, by the respect of fellow catchers, and the championships won with a glove, a sharp mind, and relentless determination. Today, Jerry Grote remains the catcher who caught more games than anyone else in New York Mets history. And to generations of Met fans, he'll always be the steady heartbeat behind the Miracle Mets. I'm Mr. Baseball. I can't believe this whole episode didn't include one reference to Duffy Dwyer. And this has been Players, a Smell Baseball podcast.